And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Coming at you live from outside of space and time, I'm Nyiam. Welcome to the Feedback Loop. Wanted to make a video update on a recent event that just occurred, a major news event involving an assassination attempt on the former president of the U.S., Donald Trump, at a rally recently. If you follow my channel, you probably know I work with a group of remote viewers over at the Future Forecasting Group, and we have this ongoing experiment using remote viewing to try and perceive major world events that are coming over the horizon. Before we get into the data, and I want to go over this and talk about a couple different things before we get to that. Remote viewing is an advanced communication protocol. It's an advanced communication skill, and it can be pretty amazing and gives some very detailed and accurate information. It's typically used against like historical targets or things that are already known to exist, like in practice targets and different investigations or events that are currently happening currently. The future applications using remote viewing are a little more experimental. There's not as many people using remote viewing trying to apply it to future events. So our project at Future Forecasting Group is one of the platforms where we have this ongoing experiment, and we're able to do this because of our supporters, our subscribers. I've been doing remote viewing for 14 years. And when it comes to trying to look at future events, I've been doing that every month for around 4 years now, along with my colleagues at Future Forecasting Group. Remote viewers are not 100% correct 100% of the time. So I see a lot of comments kind of, I guess, assuming that or insinuating that was, that's never really been a claim. I don't know any remote viewers that claim that. And if you do come across a remote viewer that claims that, I would question their credibility and their honesty. And any skeptic or critic that is implying that, I would also question their intellectual honesty, because that's never been a claim. But that being said, there are many moments, and I've shared some of those here on my channel, and there's many examples where remote viewing can be incredibly accurate and produce unambiguous data. That can be produced by remote viewers as well about future events, past events, hidden targets, whatever the case may be. So now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about this data. This data that I'm about to share was produced in April. Well, it was produced in March. Was published in April, looking at major news events coming over the horizon, high impact news events in the near future for the second quarter of 2024. Now, the video clips of this, another comment that comes up very often is, some event will happen and people will come across, a video clip of our work, and they'll say something like, oh, well, this wasn't posted before. How come this wasn't, now you're posting it after it happened? How come it wasn't, where's the original post? Or, something to that degree, they'll be saying. And, well, there's two things about that. This one in general, this one specifically that I'll be going over today, this information I'm about to show was published publicly on YouTube in April. You can see here, this is a screenshot of, let me make sure this is in full view here. Yeah, this was in 3 months ago. This was on YouTube. It has over 31,000 views. And in that video clip, there is an actual video of me talking and going over some of these impressions 3 months ago. And here's a screenshot. You can see at the bottom left, 3 months ago, and the timestamp on the actual thumbnail there with my face on it. And here's a second clip, showing a screenshot as well. And the link to this video will be in the description below. But I just wanted to get that part out of the way when people always say that. The other thing I want to say about that is all of the information we produce is published on our private website, futureforecastinggroup.com. And the reason for that is, well, we have this site because we have paying subscribers who think this is important. They show interest and they're willing to support us through by paying for the information that we produce. So people often see this data after the fact and they start demanding to see, where was it published? How come it wasn't published? Well, we publish it for the people who care and are willing to support us. I mean, remote viewing takes time and effort and skill. We have a whole team of people, as you can see, and even more people behind the scenes that, manage our websites, the media, the video editing, web hosting. There's all types of people that work on our team to make this whole thing possible. And all of that doesn't run itself for free. So, welcome to reality, folks. That's how it goes. So, some of those comments, and then the other comments saying like, why isn't all this for free? You're hiding this crucial information from the world, and all these kind of things. It's like, get real, folks. If you think it's so crucial, then support us and help us make this something more important to everyone in the world, and then maybe then the remote viewing will be more widely accepted, or something along those lines. But so yeah, that's that. That's why we post our stuff for our subscribers, because they directly support us. But this data was online publicly for over 3 months now. So this was a news article that was posted the day of the event, which was 2 days ago, I believe now. You can go online, and maybe I'll play a clip of this a bit later in the video, but I wanted to get to the data here and kind of just give some words on go into more detail about what I saw here. So you can see the actual clip, and I'll play this here. I'll put timestamps in the description below, so you can skip by this if you want. But I wanted to play this clip here so you can see and hear me going over some of this data 3 months ago. Event here was looking down the sight of a rifle, and the sense here was like hitman for hire, sharpshooter, like a public figure maybe gets assassinated. The sense here is like assassin. Feels politically motivated. I get the sense like history repeats itself. May even trigger like a national security type warning, planned and executed. I even get the word mid-speech. So maybe while someone's in public talking, maybe. And then, yeah, here I see a person in front of a crowd. And it feels, the mood there is kind of like congratulations, like clapping, cheering, honor, charisma. Then someone's up in a higher level, and the sense I get there is like sharpshooter or murderer, assassin type feel. And it was really hard for me to do more work on this without it being ruined by just noise and imagination. So I kind of stopped there. So that was, in both my sessions, I had a assassination type data. So yeah, see what happens. So that was a clip there that was published in April, and that's the same, details that you can see in the YouTube video that was posted. So let's get to the some of the data here so I can go over this. And after this, I'll also, if the YouTube posting and all that wasn't enough, I'll also show my timestamps on the blockchain, just in case you think I can travel back in time and insert myself into YouTube or something. So this was a session I did on March 17th, and this was a 2-page session. It was a 1-page session, and basically the first thing that came to me here was I found myself looking down the sight of a rifle with the aiming at somebody, and the sense here was down the sight, a sharpshooter or a hitman for hire on a public figure, and it felt like an assassin, political in nature, and it felt like this happens mid-speech. It could have something to do with national security, like a national security response, or something to do with national security involved. An aggression, a planned aggression that's executed, sense of being fully loaded, a sense of outrage, and history repeats itself. And that was a peculiar type of data point. I don't usually get assassination type data. This is not something that I report in my session every month, and this kind of hit me. Something deep down inside felt like, okay, this is going to be important. So I actually signed my name and the date at the bottom here, and I don't usually do that. And I actually wrote, I need to try again another day after that. Like this kind of impression was so strong and overwhelming that there's no way I could have continued doing more remote viewing on that day. So I kind of put this to the side and took a break for the next day, because I didn't, this was such a strong impression that came in that I had to take a break. I didn't want to contaminate the rest of my work. And here's a timestamp on the blockchain. You could see March 17th, just like I had written on the date there, March 17th. And the hash for the file here, and I'll show the hashes later to prove that this is the file. 2 days later, I worked in another near future event session. NFE means near future events. You could see it here as well, NFE. And in that session, this is more of a traditional session where I'll get lots of different impressions, and some of them could be different, different types of events. And the ones in particular that really struck me were, I saw a person, a loud shattering sound, and I saw a person in front of a crowd, and then the sounds of a loudspeaker. So this was my S3. This is where we compile our data together, and you could see here I've highlighted in the red a person at a podium in front of a crowd. So this is where the following part in the session is where I try and go deeper into that impression. Like I try and see what's going on with this event with the person in front of a crowd. And so this was this is my sight and impression that my visual and my probes that came along with this. So I saw a person in front of a crowd, a large crowd. The probes were like, all eyes on me. Like, look what I can do. This person is the main focus of attention. Congratulations, prosper. There's clapping and cheering, honor, charisma. The sense of this person like can't be stopped. That was the whole sense here. So it was overall a very positive impression here. And this was a little bit disorienting. It was like, okay, this seems like everything is happy, congratulations, charisma, honor. Then I see someone elevated and to the left, and this was a person holding a weapon, and probing into this, and I wrote here, someone's up here. And this is when it hit me again, like, the sharpshooter. This was the thing I saw 2 days ago in my other session. The sharpshooter is up here. And I also had this, what looks like a projectile passing, behind the head. And this is something that I guess becomes important in hindsight. And I wrote here, this is like an assassin or a murder type event. Like that was the whole sense here. So here's the little timestamp as well on the blockchain for this. This was on March 19th. So 2 days after my prior session, I did this session. Looking more closely at some of the drawings here. These are just things that, I find correlated very strongly with the event. Moments before the actual shots went off, Trump had his hand up like this, and I thought that was interesting. But I guess even more interesting is this actual moment that was caught on a photo that was captured, I think, by one of the photographers there, which actually appears to show, what people are saying is the actual bullet passing by Trump's head here. And he has his arm up here, and I also had a person with their arm up with this thing passing right by their head. So, make up your own mind. Just thought that was interesting, and a very interesting correlation there. Some more, information that I found very interesting. So we have a person at a podium here, kind of in the center, and these images on the left are from different news agencies with the layout of the event. So in red, in the two red boxes is, in the middle we have Trump speaking, and I drew elevated into the left. I had a sharpshooter, someone in an elevated position. And you could see in the top left image, we have Trump on stage in the center, red rectangle, and over to the left, on top of a building nearby, that's where the alleged shooter was found and killed, was over here elevated on this structure. So correlates very closely with my data that I had here. And in the bottom left image, this is just a wider shot of the actual event. I've highlighted Trump there in the center. The green is just to show where these trees are in both of the images, and that the building was to the left of the trees. So the building where the shots are said to have come from would just be off to the left of the image here. And these are images that were published of, there's multiple videos and images of people saying that this man bear crawled on top of this structure nearby. And there's an actual image here of him looking down the sight of a rifle, right? That was one of my first impressions, a person looking down the sight of a rifle, taking aim at someone mid-speech. And on the right is an image of him after he was, as they say, taken out by the counter sniper team that was on the scene that day. So interesting. I also had a day after I produced this session here. This was kind of knocking around in my head, and I was thinking about it a lot, and some part of me was saying there's some kind of body involved here. Like there is a dead body, because I didn't draw any. I didn't have anyone dying in any of the prior data. So I sketched out this body, and I said, there's a man laying out, and it looks lifeless to me. And it almost seems like a crime scene photo, like what they would show after a crime scene. Now, Trump didn't die at this event, but someone in the crowd did die. And also the shooter, died. Was this my imagination? Was this contamination? Or is this something yet to come? Or could this have been the shooter or the individual who got caught in the crossfire? Hard to say, but that was my data that matches up, extremely closely with the events of that day. And I thought it would be interesting to show that and kind of explain to people who may not be aware of how how this all comes together, that could help. There's a lot of people say things like, "Oh, well, anyone could have predicted that. Trump's going to get assassinated. Anyone could have predicted that." And yes, I agree. Anyone can make that general statement that Trump's going to be taken out. But I guess the real nuance to the situation here is that remote viewing data is produced in a different way. So predictions of that kind, where someone says, "Okay, they're going to take out Trump, or Trump's going to get assassinated." This is a comment that I've been getting a lot. Anyone could have seen that coming. It's like, okay, yes, anyone could assume that's going to happen. A lot of people have said things like, first they try and attack your character, then they try and incarcerate you, and then they try and kill you. All these different reasons why people come to the conclusion that Trump may have an attempt on his life, and those are all valid. The difference here is that remote viewing data isn't produced in that way. So those types of predictions are based on current knowledge and past patterns. Like, okay, they took out JFK. They always try and kill the heroes, and those types of different reasons. And then those are projected into the future, right? So they say, well, we know this happens, or they're probably going to do this because they did that before, and all types of other different reasonings. And then they say, okay, so in the future, they're probably going to try and take out Donald Trump. That's fine and that's valid. And people who came to that conclusion, you're right. They did try and take out Trump. The difference here is that remote viewing data starts the other way around. It starts with saying, I don't know anything, right? So I didn't sit down and say, okay, what's going to happen at Trump's assassination? That's not how this information was produced, right? I didn't sit down and say, how are they going to take out Donald Trump? That's not how this information was produced. This information was produced by sitting down and not knowing, bringing in signals from the future and trying to put them onto the paper through remote viewing. The subconscious is responsible for the production of this data. So a lot of people now are seeing the events that happened, and they're coming up with theories, and everyone has their own opinions and stuff like that on what may have happened or how they think it happened. This information was produced before the event happened. See, so the remote viewer, the advantage of remote viewing when it's done correctly is that you can reduce the amount of noise and imagination and jumping to different conclusions. A lot of that can be reduced because the event hasn't occurred yet. So this was produced free of all those influences, all those outside influences, and even influences that, if I knew this was going to be Donald Trump, could have colored my work, right? So I perceive this information not knowing who it is, not knowing exactly when it may occur, but that's okay because it allows me to produce information like how, the area the shooter was in, elevated into the left. That's going to be mid-speech. That's going to be a person looking down a rifle. All these different kinds of things that someone who's just saying, well, Trump's going to get taken out, that's very low resolution. There's many ways that Trump could get taken out. He could be poisoned. He could be shot walking down the street. His plane could crash. He could be in a car crash. There's so many different ways that could occur. So the advantage of remote viewing is that you can get clean information that doesn't have these types of outside influences. Did I come out and say it's Trump and he's saying these exact words? And no, that's not how it works. You know what I mean? Sometimes a remote viewer can get a very clear view. There's been events in the past where I have been able to identify the person because I could see them clearly. So it's just like any other skill. You know what I mean? There's going to be times when things are very clear. There's going to be times when there's noise and difficulty perceiving it. And, I even mentioned in the video when I was debriefing this that it was hard to do any more work on this. I mean, I see a guy up on a elevated area taking aim on someone in the middle of a speech. what do you think started coming through my mind at that point in time? I was starting to think of, okay, this is like a political assassination. Who else is it? Could it possibly be? I wonder. And that's not my job as a remote viewer. I'm not trying to name what it is. I'm trying to describe it as cleanly as possible, right? So I'm not trying to jump to conclusions. So hopefully that gives a little insights on the difference in the methods of trying to get this kind of information. And it's not that one is better than the other. I'm not saying that people who came to this conclusion logically are wrong or that remote viewing is better. It's just a different way of collecting information. And that's one of the reasons why it was developed by the military, because they understood the usefulness of it. So with remote viewing, we start from a blank slate and we allow the subconscious to bring up information and we record that information. We may not know how or when it's going to occur exactly, or who. There's different degrees of how we may perceive that. But when they do occur, when the event eventually does occur, as shown here, there can be some very, very accurate and unambiguous data about it. And so this is the project that we have ongoing at Future Forecasting Group. And in my opinion, it's important work. And I'm very thankful and grateful to anyone who's helping support us. Thank you so much. And, this is really my passion. This is important to me. Seeing the future, proving that I'm right is not the point here. The point is to bring remote viewing to the forefront, to allow people to see what's going on with consciousness, what's going on with human abilities, what's the nature of reality. You know what I mean? These are the questions that I want in people's minds. It's not about me. Oh, look what I did. Look, I got this right. That's not really what it's about. So hopefully that was interesting. You can check out our website, futureforecastinggroup.com, if you would like to see, more of this and see all the information of things before they happen. And now I will go over the hashing of the files to show that these indeed were, timestamped on the blockchain. Excuse me, in case you think I'm, a time traveler in the physical sense, and I somehow went back in time and inserted myself into a YouTube recording. So here I have two files on my computer, April 2024 NFE Nyiam.pdf, and I put it into a SHA-256 checksum, and you could see the hash that comes up there. And that's the file with this drawing that has down the sight of the rifle. And then I have another file, NFE-X4M1-Nyiam, and this is that second drawing that I did, which had the person standing in front of the crowd. Now I'm here on memo.cache, which is kind of like a Twitter clone that writes your posts actually to the blockchain. So you can go back and see when things were published. And I have the hash of my session right here, NFE X4M1, posted here 118 days ago. You can see the hash here. I'm going into Explorer. And you can see the time there, March 19th. And there's the hash that matches the one that I just showed, on my computer file. So this file with this hash existed verifiably since March 19th, which, matches with, that's how it was posted on YouTube 3 months ago, because I already produced it. And as well as the April 2024 NFE Nyiam.pdf. That was the one I did on March 17th. And here's the hash for that file, and the timestamp is right there, March 17th. The day I did it, I timestamped it. The hash for this file existed on March 17th, 2024. And if you think I can fake that, then maybe you don't understand how cryptography works, and there's nothing I can do to help you in that case. So with that being said, hopefully that was interesting. I'd love to hear your comments and criticisms or whatever it may be in the comments below. If you're interested in remote viewing, check us out at futureforecastinggroup.com. If you're interested in learning remote viewing, check out futureforecasters.com, futureforecasters.com. And there you can sign up for instructions in remote viewing. I will be teaching a course actually starting on July 21st. Not sure if that one's full yet, but we'll definitely be doing more after that as well. So thanks for tuning in. Peace and love, y'all. Take it easy.